She's fun. You know what? She has been such a good mom to us, and she hates not working, and she hates just sitting in her house. So I'm like, well, if we go here, and she's always like, well, if I go with you to Richmond, we could go home through Bryce Canyon. We could go to the top of Bryce Canyon, like all these things. So every time we go, it's like a huge adventure. So
That's cute. Stephanie, are you there? Can you hear me? Hello?
Okay, now it's working. I couldn't get my video. Now I can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay, we're trying to play with it. No, it's okay. We're trying to figure it out because I'm here with Colette. Wait, we'll have I think I'm gonna have to go somewhere else.
Yep, you guys are too close. Jackie, welcome. Hey, Jackie, will you send me a picture of your stamp? Your chamber stamp?
I don't have that, but I will work on that.
So I have it, it's at my office in Nephi. So I've got to get with Jackie, but it's just one of those address stamps that you just have 2 lines or 3 lines. That's all it is. It just says Greater Nephi Chamber of Commerce. I think it only says that. I don't even think it says our address.
Okay, and well, I hope not, because we don't have an address. And then how about, I noticed the one that Melanie sent yesterday had a number on it. Do I need a number or do I
You don't need anything. I haven't had any problems with just my stamp and signing it.
Okay, and then you just sign your name. Do you put down executive director or just?
No, I just sign my name because I think sometimes it specifically says it president or something like that. And so I didn't want them to be like, well, who's this executive director? So I just sign.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna run home.
Thank you so much. Are you able to hear me okay? Is the sound okay?
Yeah, you're better now, Colette. You're not echoing. So
Thank you. We're all in the Severe Valley Event Center for the rural or remote online initiative.
how exciting. And you're taking a little break to hang out with us.
Wouldn't miss it.
So how you doing, Jackie?
And I think figuring stuff out. So
It very much is that, isn't it?
for real. Everything done, we'll see, huh?
Yeah, I did my newsletter. I was super busy Monday and Monday night with that community night out. And so Tuesday I worked on my newsletter to get all that out and everything. And then Tuesday night, it was like 10:30 and I could see that it was having issues saving. It was telling me, when you get that, have you ever got that bar, Abby, that says, we're aware that we're having issues.
Yeah.
Anyway, so 10:30, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to leave it. Hopefully it will save itself and it'll be fine in the morning. Then I can send it out first thing. I got up Wednesday morning. It told me I had to refresh, lost about 3/4 of the stuff I'd already put in. And I'm like, I'm going to be sick.
Oh no. Hey, by the way, Parawan, Trish or Colette's up there, but Parawan got money to hire an executive director last night.
Oh, that's
so cool, right?
That is
happy to hear that. So Trisha got that last night in Parawan. So did you hear that, Colette? I don't know if Colette's
That is the best news ever. They're gonna rock it for both Parowan and Brainhead. That's incredible.
I'm surprised they haven't had something going on before that, but it's so necessary to have paid people. It just really helps with the success of it. So
I could not agree more. I worked as an unpaid person for 12 years.
mm-hmm.
And it was always just, what we could do in between our time as volunteers. So
Yeah, Jackie, if you don't know Colette, so Colette is with the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. And so she has been really great to help like mentor me in this, but she also came from the Kanab Chamber. So she's been doing chamber for a long time. So she knows a lot of stuff. So if you ever like need anything and stuff, Colette is just fabulous. And she's even helping me now in my new job. So I'm always like, Colette.
So are you telling us, Abby, stop texting you and
No,
text
you could totally text me. I just wanted to sing Colette's praises. So
You can text both of us. And no, thank you for that nice introduction. Sorry, ladies, I'm just putting on my makeup really quick.
No, you're fine. No, I had to attest an invoice for a business this week, and I was reaching out to everyone I knew. I'm like, anyone? What do I do? How do I?
Sometimes you've got to have that network to ask those questions sometimes, and just even if they don't have a perfect answer, just problem solve a little bit. We are alone on an island sometimes in rural Utah.
Yeah, and Abby, that guy, the World Trade Center guy, Wayne,
yeah, Wing.
he never got back with me.
We never did.
No.
Well,
So I'm
shoot.
like, well, sometimes people go out of town, or something. But
I know his wife is pregnant, but I don't think she's due till September.
Yeah,
Because I just had a meeting with him last weekend.
really? Yeah, he didn't respond, and I threw your name in there. I'm like, hey, Abby gave me your information.
Okay, let's see here. I'm going to send him a text with your cell phone.
Oh, okay, because I only had an email when you sent me his info. It was only
I got his cell phone, yeah. So let me see. Your
you.
contact.
You're so in.
But maybe it went into spam or something like that.
Maybe so. But he couldn't wait any longer because he had to have that international shipment done.
Oh,
So I went and signed like 5 invoices. And then luckily being a notary, I just stamped my notary. And I'm like, hopefully
that'll work. Yeah.
that'll work.
Okay. Oh,
Can you hear us okay, Trisha? Trisha's in a busy airport this morning.
I can. I can hear you guys. I'll be on mute most of the time, but hello, everyone.
Well,
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Well, while we're waiting, do you want to share your good news? I heard you have some good news from last night.
Oh, yeah. So Parowan City approved to, along with Brian Head, to help fund a executive director position for Parowan Chamber of Commerce, which is totally great.
that
Yeah,
is fabulous.
it is fabulous. Abby came down and helped us, bless her heart. And it's been a long process, but yeah, just last night I was sitting on the plane watching my 3-hour-long city council meeting. So
That's incredible.
yeah, they approved it. It was great.
Good work. Well, we've got just about 1 more minute and we'll get started here. It looks like we've got quite a few people coming in. Thank you for everyone for joining us this morning. It's a busy day with graduations and conferences and all sorts of fun things going on.
Oh, Colette, I was saying I can add people. It shows up admit on my phone really easily. So if you miss people, know that I'm on that.
Oh, great. And we've got Abby too. We're both set up in
Perfect.
2 different rooms this morning.
Oh, good.
Abby and I are coming to you live from the Sevier Valley Event Center in Richfield. We're here for the remote online initiative conference, which there's about 100 people that will be in attendance today. So that's good for rural Utah and remote work. So
I'm excited about it. I'm excited to learn how we can provide good paying jobs to people in rural Utah. So.
right. Well, it's the top of the hour, so I think we should go ahead and get started. And we'll just let people in as they come in. Because Trish is in a busy airport traveling to somewhere hopefully exotic. I'll be conducting the meeting today. My name is Colette Cox, and I am the Vice Chair of the Rural Utah Chamber Coalition. Tricia Harris is our chair, and then we have Abby Ivory with us this morning, that is our secretary, treasurer, all things amazing, public relations person. And then we also have Joel Brown, who's traveling today. He's in DC with the chamber group that went to DC. And then we have Chris McCormick, who's also in DC, which is awesome that they both got to go. I am having a lot of FOMO watching all the photos pop up on LinkedIn and Facebook. And then last but not least, we have Monica, who helps us with policy from the Box Elder Chamber. So again, thank you so much for being here. We've got a great agenda. I'll just give you a quick overview. First, we're going to hear from our government rep today is Gary Webster with Senator Mike Lee's office. He's going to speak to us for about 5 to 10 minutes and give us some updates. Then we'll have our chamber share with Stephanie Hardy from the San Pete Chamber. She's going to share for about 10 minutes. And then we're going to jump into building rural economies through film. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited about all the Kevin Costner movie coming out in June, and Yellowstone's coming back on, and all the excitement around the Footloose, Kevin Bacon visiting Payson for a Footloose reunion. And so there's a lot of fun things going on in film this year, and that we'll hear about. And then we will wrap up our event today, our meeting with Jim Rowland, who's going to host our Linger Longer to just talk through chamber issues and anything that you may be needing some support on. We're here to support each other each month and network and get to know each other more. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to Gary. Thank you for being with us this morning.
All right, thanks. Can you hear me all right this morning?
Perfect.
Very good. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you today. If any of you have been on that chamber trip back east and spend some time in DC, what a wonderful opportunity that is. And Joel and company get to hopefully enjoy a nice weather time back there. But here I am from sunny St. George, and I'm excited to share some of the issues that we're working on within the federal government. So I'm going to start from the level of what's going on with the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA bill. That is, the deadline is today. And in fact, there will be a procedural vote that is slated for just a few hours from now, about 1 o'clock Eastern time. And the lawmakers will take what looks like over 1,000-page reauthorization document that the House passed last week. And or actually, they passed it Wednesday before leaving town. So maybe the Senate will be able to work in terms of the timeline with that deadline looming today. But interestingly enough, there's one of those situations where what is holding up this FAA reauthorization is those, of course, millions of passengers fly all over the place, and some Virginia politicians are complaining that the bill is one of those that they're concerned that other senators are more interested in direct nonstop flights home than they are actually dealing with strengthening the safety and efficiency and accessibility of general aviation. So we're going to hear an awful lot about that. There is a catch with this bill, however, and that is nearly 100 amendments have been filed. And this is because this is what Congress deems as one of those that may be one that actually has to get through Congress. So we're seeing a lot of amendments being thrown at this. Senator Lee specifically is pushing for an amendment that would prohibit airlines and the TSA from allowing illegal aliens and parolees to board airplanes using what they call the CBP One app, or the Customs and Border Patrol One app. And this is one of those situations where we don't believe that should actually be taking place. Moving on to the Farm Bill update, that markup is to happen May 23rd, and Congress has until September 30th to pass the bill. So Representative Thompson, who's the chair on the House side, he's from Pennsylvania, He's the Agriculture Committee chair. He says that the 2024 Farm Bill will be, and I quote him, cost neutral, and it's a process. Well, they're going to consider food prices, consumption patterns, and dietary guidance. So both parties seek to shore up also, and this is an interesting one, crop insurance programs, which has been one of those challenges with issues regarding weather and weather related catastrophic events. So we want to watch closely on this, and this is going to be a $1.5 trillion program, of which about 80% of that is from what we would call the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, or food stamps. So it is really interesting to know that that is the largest component as far as dollars, but we're going to watch closely the Conservation Reserve Easement Program and the Inflation Reduction Act funds being redirected to help fund this latest 5-year extension of the Farm Bill. Also watching, and this is going to be an interesting one, kind of, well, I'm not sure how fun this is, but part of the Conservation Stewardship Program, it expands that definition of conservation activities to include livestock management practices and activities that will assist the producer or our ranchers in mitigating greenhouse gas emissions. So this includes enteric methane emissions or cows passing gas. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on to some Utah-based issues that Senator Lee is working on. On the public lands front, the Committee on Energy and Natural Resources, ENR is what you will often hear it referred to as. In a letter to the Bureau of Land Management, Senator Lee opposes the agency's rule for solar development. We're going to see thousands and thousands of acres that will be deemed a solar farm. And this rule could hurt other multiple uses, including grazing, mineral development, and recreation. So these solar projects have to be carefully watched as they make sure that they don't interfere with established multiple uses for our public lands. The Western Solar Plan, it revises the structure of pre-screening for public land for use in solar development. So it's going to be interesting because with every solar and wind development situation, there's also a component that we'll have to watch on our public lands, and that is transmission infrastructure. So, which means there have to be giant transmission line projects connecting those to the grid. So it's going to be somewhat disruptive, and how we manage our public lands will be something that we will need to watch closely in our rural economic development initiatives. On the ranching front, there's frustration over the Department of Agriculture mandating, and this was unveiled just last April, and that is a rule that cattle transported across state lines must bear electronically readable tags. Many of the ranchers are very concerned about this, and this is a good example for the REINS Act. We can't have agencies essentially put rules in place that would affect how, in this case, the ranching community will be significantly affected with additional investments that will be required for them for each individual cow or their cattle to be tagged with, I think, non-proven electric, or this technology. It needs to be tested first, but it will certainly affect our economy. Real quick, April 18th, going back a month or so, Senator Lee introduced a bill that he calls the Enhanced State Input on Federal Grazing and State Grazing Management. This bill empowers states to manage grazing allotments on federal lands. We feel like the states should have a lot more influence on that, especially with the Federal Land Policy and Management Act of 1976. Needs to be adjusted slightly. We see too much federal oversight. A couple of other things real quick, and I would say on the legislation that was just introduced last Wednesday. So this week, the SAVE Act, which is Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, which will protect American voters and prevent illegal aliens from voting in federal elections. Also, we've recently introduced into the Senate No Subsidies for Wealthy Universities Act. So you can kind of see what's going on our college campuses, and quoting Senator Lee, the tax dollars of hardworking American families are going to ultra-wealthy universities like Columbia and Harvard, supporting woke DEI programs while churning out graduates who despise our country and riot for the destruction of Israel. He says, let's cut off the money. Couple of other things real quick. The Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, Senator Lee, Senator Romney, and on the House side, Representative Malloy leading an effort in our government to reauthorize this legislation that compensates individuals who have been adversely affected by atomic weapons testing conducted by the federal government. So as always, Senator Lee and his staff we have the responsibility to help Utahns to work with federal agencies. And so anyone dealing with Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, immigration, military service, veterans benefits, and a whole list of others. IRS passports have been really popular. As Chamber members, small business concerns. So thanks for the opportunity to be with you today. Be sure to visit our website at lee.senate.gov. And if you have any questions, let me know. But thanks for the opportunity. And hopefully things are busy in DC, obviously, with all of this legislation, with bills coming at within the next week or so in terms of expiring. So a lot of activity. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Gary. That was a very comprehensive and important update. Thank you for tailoring your message specifically to issues that really impact rural Utah, such as the grazing and the solar project information, and obviously the atomic testing and that support for those affected by that as well. I think that our updates from our government liaisons from the federal level, it's one of the very best, very best things about our rural Utah chamber meetings each month. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I feel like that line from DC to southern Utah and rural Utah is a lot shorter because of these consistent updates. So thank you to you and Holly and Kyle and everyone that jumps on to give us these updates each month. So we'll go ahead and change over to our chamber share section. We've got Stephanie Hardy with the Sanpete Chamber, who will give us an overview and give us some insight to some of her success and some things that will hopefully impact and support your chambers. Looks like you're muted, Stephanie. There you go. Oh, can you hear us, Stephanie?
I think she can hear you. She just can't unmute.
Oh,
Am I
no.
right? Maybe we could keep playing with it and maybe.
How about, let's go ahead and jump to our next section. We'll give you a few minutes to figure it out if that's okay, Stephanie.
Maybe you
We'll
can
dive
log out and log back in.
Yeah, that might work for you. Okay, well, to keep the meeting going, we'll go into our next set of speakers. This month, like I said, with the excitement that we've had around several film projects here in rural Utah, wanted to bring in a panel to discuss building rural economies through film. Today we've got Christina Martin with the Utah Film Commission, so we'd like to welcome Christina. And then we've got Kelly Stoll, who's the King County Film Commissioner. And then Vega Metzing, I'm butchering your name, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, Vega. But she's over the Grand and San Juan Film Commission, so.
Biga Metzner, Moab to Monument Valley Film Commission Director.
Thank you,
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you, and welcome. And I'm going to, let's see. Looks like I can see Kelly. I muted you for just a minute, Kelly, so you'll have to unmute yourself. And then Christina. So we're gonna do this panel style, which is a little different than we typically do, but first off, I want to ask Christina, please tell us what the Utah Film Commission does specifically in rural Utah.
So in rural Utah, what we have been trying to do over the last few years is really empower those communities to have the tools available to film production, to enable film production in their area. And we started a program a couple years ago called the Film Ready Utah program. And so what that does is we identify community liaisons in those areas. And Biga and Kelly are both part of that program. And so they really are those links to their specific regions. So we provide Film Commission support, whether to those different areas if they need support in identifying locations or different assets like accommodations and things that a film production might need, as well as crew and vendors. And then we have adopted a kind of a certification or designation process to identify a community as film ready. And that really, that indication kind of tells productions as they're looking to film throughout the state that this community is a place I need to look at. And so then these areas have the infrastructure to really support those productions that ultimately will provide economic impact in those areas. And additionally, what we've been able to do is in 2022, there was legislation that was allowed to increase our film incentive program. So we have a motion picture incentive program. Its entirety is about 20 million per fiscal year, but 12 million of that is earmarked specifically for rural production. So a production would need to shoot 75% of their production days in rural Utah in order to be eligible for that film incentive. So it really drives a lot of great economic impact into rural communities, and we've seen a lot of success with that. Just over 2 fiscal years, we had about 93 million in economic impact in those areas, which is fantastic. And kind of a byproduct of all of this is film tourism. Ultimately in those areas, which drives the visitor economy, which I know rural communities also depend on as well. So.
Thank you so much. I'm going to jump over to Biga. Tell us what it means to be a film-ready community in southeastern Utah. What does that look like for you to be a film-ready community?
Well, the Moab to Monument Valley Film Commission has been film ready for many numbers of years. In fact, we are actually celebrating our 75th anniversary as the longest ongoing film commission in the world this year. I know it's 100 years of filming in the state of Utah, which is massive, 50 years of the Utah Film Commission, but 75 of the Moab to Monument Valley. So we've been making movies and commercials and shows for a very, very long time. So in relation to the film ready aspect, we've sort of been ready and continue to help, make that work better. But it's all of what Christina had basically said, which is I have a website. It aggregates with the Utah Film Commission site. So if you want to shoot in Grand County or San Juan County, which are the two counties that I represent, Moab to Monument Valley, or what I like to now call Thelma and Louise to Forrest Gump, because that gives everybody sort of a better visual if you're a visual person like I am. And it's all, having a relationship with all of my government entities. I work for Grand County, but I also used to work for the city. So having a relationship with the mayor and local law enforcement officers and every single land use agency that exists in my area, which are a number of them. I don't have to give out all the acronyms, but we can start with BLM, National Park, State Park, SITLA, Sovereign Lands, Tribal Parks, and so forth and so on, LaSalle Mountain. So it's really about bolstering those relationships so that if a film crew comes in and the requests are different every single time, because sometimes they're very small film projects and sometimes they're massive, like the Kevin Costner one, which I know we're going to talk about, being able to facilitate those on whatever levels they need with local crew, with vendors, with accommodations. And if we don't have it in this area, trying to figure out how to get it from the state of Utah, primarily first, shooting in the state. To me, it's about, it's a collaboration. It's not a competition for me, between counties. It's about getting it in the state of Utah. So I don't know if I really answered your film ready question, but
No,
that's kind of
perfect.
it. Yeah.
Well, so it sounds like you do a lot more than just hang out with Hollywood movie stars and directors all day.
Everyone thinks it's cotton candy clouds and drinking martinis, but no, that is definitely not not the life.
A lot of hard work and coordination goes into these film projects. Kelly, tell us from your perspective, in what ways does film in rural Utah drive economic development?
Hi, everyone. It's good to be with you today. And yeah, I'm Kelly Stoll. I'm in Kane County. And thanks for having me. I'm in the truck office today. But, film is one of our economic development tools in our toolbox that complements our other programs and initiatives. And especially for those of us in the public lands counties, about 93% of Kane County is owned by a governmental entity. And as Biga was mentioning, it's kind of a maze to work through those bureaucratic processes and matching the locations with where it makes sense to actually take a film crew. And there's a lot of coordination, as was mentioned, but film is very visible. We really get to see it and see its impacts really visibly, and it's a windfall of economic development for us when they happen, especially the big projects. So the big projects write big checks.
I've seen in print from the Utah Film Commission a quote from a Moab rancher that says, film crews come in and
all they take is pictures, and all they leave is money.
Yep. And that's the best kind of economic development, isn't it?
And I'm sorry, I don't mean to break in, but it's sort of the stewardship of the land is something that film crews in and of themselves, because they are usually permitting properly, unless there's some rogue guerrilla filmmaking project of young filmmakers that don't quite get that they can reach out to a film commission or a film office to help them understand it. I've been in the film industry for 27 years of my life, and prior to being in Moab, and film crew likes to leave a place the same or better than they found it. And that's something so that the future of filmmaking can continue to happen. So it's a nice, it's a nice thing.
Fantastic. Well, and this is open to each of you. Tell us the local businesses that benefit when a film project comes into town. What types of businesses do you tap into? What types of money is left in these rural communities through film?
I mean, I can take it, but Kelly and Biga, as you live and work in these communities, really we focus, it spans the gambit from accommodations to, hospitality in regards to caterers and restaurants, all the way to construction, all these production, sets that need to be built. In addition to, smaller business like a flower shop, as, things that you wouldn't normally associate with a film production. And I think that's what we try to do when we're working with, different counties that may not have been in the position like Biga and Kelly, where a lot of productions have been coming to their areas for decades. And they're just now kind of getting into that to realize that they actually do have resources. While it might not be a large studio, camera crews and things like that, but they have resources that a production can utilize. And then they can look in different parts of the state to kind of pool those resources in an area if a location speaks to them. But, it's really the locations that speak to these productions. I mean, we're so fortunate, Utah, of the 84,000 square miles, we have, thousands of locations available to these productions, and they're so diverse. And so it's, these locations are also kind of an economic impact. They're homeowners, there are businesses where these productions want to shoot, and that is an economic impact that I don't think a lot of people think of as well. Kelly or Biga, please feel free to.
Well, we're really happy still for the on-site locations that come out to actual sites out in the public and not just on a lot. Or I made a joke the other day that all of these jobs are going to go away with AI. They'll just create it all on a screen, and they won't have to anymore. We definitely don't want that to happen.
No, we don't. I totally agree with you, Kelly. I'm what we call practical locations. Filming in an area on site is something that, people say might go away, but there are really, and we do get film crews in here that shoot what they call plate shots. They come in only for a few days and they take pictures of 360 degrees of the beautiful landscapes that are the characters. And then they take those to visual effects later into post-production and put in a building on top of Dead Horse Point in Westworld, or a train going up and down one of our highways in Lone Ranger. Like there's all kinds of things you can do, but then we do have some projects that realize that being in the place and feeling not only the extreme weather that we have in some of these environments is part of the process and makes it real. And then it trickles down outside of that. I mean, to some crazy little things that you'd never think of, like the vet in our area. When you have a shoot here for 3 to 6 months in an area and people are staying here, a lot of them bring their animals. When Horizon came, I mean, our DP brought a cow and a donkey because that's his family, with his wife and son who also worked on the film crew. But that animals and pets and dogs, and yeah, so I love to talk about our local. That came
See,
up.
that's
Was like, hey, Biga, thanks so much for having this film crew here. Like, we did really well.
Well, and maybe that's what we should talk about, is all the random and interesting jobs that come with it, such as the snake wranglers or pyrotechnics, or I can't mention too many details, or the call that I just got for a reality show that's looking for some kind of a dead sheep or a dead deer for their reality star to stumble across out in the woods. And
I needed a lizard to cross a highway, and you can't just have like a lizard. It has to be a lizard wrangler that comes with the lizard.
Movie lizard.
Movie lizard. Their talent too. And
then
be
the Clint Eastwood of lizards.
Right. Speaking of talent, I mean, when you have a production, sometimes they're smaller. I have a Eddie Bauer shoot in town right now, but they put out a casting call for a dog, for a trailer, and for an old cool looking Bronco vehicle. And so that brings the community that is here, there was so many people who submitted their dogs that at a certain point, the guy said to me, like, can you put an update on your social media pages and say like, enough, thank you so much, we found the dog, we found the stuff. But like and extras, people who were playing background, and some of those extras actually become potentially speaking roles, and then they get their SAG AFTRA, actors cards, and then they can move on to do bigger and other things as well. So it's just sort of all over the place. And I have to of course mention the bars and the liquor store. When you have a film crew in town, if you're not a dry county, those do very well for film crews as well.
That's awesome. That's a great snapshot. And Kelly, can you tell us about, just to give us a specific example about, I think we were talking about one of the Kevin Costner shoots where, like, how many hotel rooms do they take up in Kanab? What type of catering or food budgets do they have? Tell us about like the overall budget that is presented to you as a film commissioner when a big project comes into Kanab?
Well, and Christina and Biga probably were a little closer to that. We had a few days of the shoot from the first movie, and they took up about just less than 300 hotel rooms. The catering on that project was something like I've never seen before. I think they were feeding in, again, I'll let Biga and Christina talk about this, but they were feeding over 400 people on set. And yeah, Biga, what was that like?
It was massive and really cool to see. Yeah, I mean, in terms of hotel rooms, I don't actually have an exact number, but it goes through because the incentive I don't handle myself in my area. Christina and the Utah Film Commission handle the film incentive aspect of it, and they get to all the receipts and everything. So to say, yes, you've spent this amount of, you've shot 75% of your project in the area, but yeah, feeding 500 to 600 people, a number of catering trailers, tents, these things called lunch boxes, which are these big, massive semis that expand out the side so that you can put people and tables inside so they're not out in the elements eating all day long. And hotel rooms, I mean, yeah, 300 to 600. And we had in Grand and San Juan County, a few days in Emory, just next door. I mean, I think we had 56 shoot days on the first film, somewhere in that realm of things.
54. Yep.
Sorry, 54.
54, yeah. You were right on.
Yeah, shoot days. And so that was so primarily the first film of Horizon, an American Saga Chapter 1, which releases on June 28th, was primarily filmed in the Moab area, between some private property up our river road, and then they built an entire town up in LaSalle Mountains, but that is San Juan County. And then, yeah, so
Yeah.
It's a lot of people and a lot of impact and a lot of, yeah.
Yeah. No, and I would just, in some specifics, like, in hotels, that production just in that, 50 some odd days are spending about $10 million in accommodations, which is a very substantial impact for a smaller community in rural Utah. You're spending close to $4.5 million on transportation. And that is directly impacting in that community. These aren't, funds that are going out of state. This is economic impact into the community.
I have another crew coming in today, actually, for a completely separate project that I can't name. But they have bought out an entire hotel in Green River. That is not in my jurisdiction, but they are filming in Grand County. But at least one hotel is for the next month completely bought out. So, it does definitely.
Well, even the smaller projects will spend a lot in hotel rooms. I've got lots of anecdotes about it with local hotels that made it through the winter because of a small independent project that showed up, and it's all positive things. But I mean, maybe one thing to say to this group that where I think we spend a lot of time is like inventorying our counties and our areas to know what's there, and to have a library and to have a resource library to be prepared to go after film. And like we talked about the incentive, we need it to be competitive and to compete with the other states. We've seen a lot of red states that have robust film programs, like Georgia, like Oklahoma has a much larger incentive than we do. Arizona just increased their film incentive to 125 million. So they have over 100 million more than Utah for film. And so it's more important than ever that we are competitive, that we know what's in our areas, that we can navigate the maze of public lands and private property and state lands, that we know where to send people, and we can get the permits in a timely manner, and that we're prepared and able to compete.
Yeah. can I also, it's, you know, each of those hotel rooms and much of the cost, the spend in an area is then transient room tax and or TRCC. And so it's not taxed, and that's what funds my office, you know, so I, you know, you can't call it, you know, local tax dollars, taxpayer dollars, because it sort of funds itself in an interesting way. Because if you bring in $45 million in a year because a project was here, then that, you know, it self-generates itself. So it's about supporting what Kelly's saying so that it can self-generate also. And there really is, you know, Arizona did just up there to 125 million, but Arizona is also not Utah, and neither is Oklahoma, and neither is Georgia. So if you want to film in this place, there's no place else on the planet that looks like this. Not even just the Moab area, but the state of Utah having all these different geological things, from, you know, high desert to ski mountains and incredible alpines in an area. I mean, the country of Jordan literally is probably my biggest competition, if you could say that. But if you want to film in the United States, like, this is it. So we want to make it so that they can do it here. The Horizon was not even a script that was written to be in southeastern Utah. I should just say that. It was actually scouted for 15 years ago in New Mexico, and Kevin Costner fell in love with this area and chose to do it here because he wanted to have it be in this environment. So there's that too.
That's awesome. Christina, can you tell us just a really quick overview of the film incentives through the state and how that impacts the local, how they impact the local communities?
Sure. Yeah, so I mentioned a little bit before, so we have the Utah Motion Picture Incentive Program, and so in a single fiscal year, we are approved to about $20 million. And so the way, you know, it works, the production, you know, will come apply for the incentive, and there's a certain number of criteria that we review on a production, how many jobs they'll be bringing, you know, things like that. And then a production is then approved by the Utah Office of Tourism and Film Board. And so that incentive, and the way it's broken up, of that 20 million, 8 million is reserved for productions that are filming across the state. But as I said before, 12 million is allocated just for rural production. And so a production has to shoot 75% of their production days in a rural county. And so that is very important. And it's been extremely successful in its first 2 fiscal years of that portion of the film incentive. 93 million of economic impact was returned to rural counties, which is a huge impact in just its first 2 years. And so in this past legislative session, we were able to you know, continue those funds in this film incentive program. And so we are seeing a lot of interest, and of course hope, you know, we've all heard that Horizon and American Saga Chapter 3 is kind of already scouting the area. And so that would be a project that would be eligible for the rural portion of the film incentive as well. And so that is something that we are continuing to encourage. And so with the Film Ready Utah program, that has just enabled us to find more and more areas throughout the state that film productions can go and really impact these rural communities.
That's fantastic. We get really excited about the big film projects that come into town, but just like everything else, it's a lot of the small projects are the bread and butter. Bigger said that she's got an Eddie Bauer shoot in town. I know Kelly's had everything from Toyota to Land Rover, Ford, you know, Nissan, you name it, along with smaller Hallmark movies. One thing that was very interesting to me as well is that there's a portion of their money has to be spent in the state of Utah. I think it was Biga told me a story once about a film shoot. If they need water, the closest big box store is in Grand Junction, but they can't go over the state line to go get a pallet of water. They actually would have to go to Provo or Richfield or another community because they have to spend the money. So they're buying things in the grocery stores and the in the hardware stores, you know, anything that's needed, it really does need to be spent in the state of Utah. Is that correct?
Yes, and gas to get to those places.
Yes.
So, and we know that in the state of Utah, gas is definitely not cheap these days. But yeah, Price, I think, is the biggest, has a Walmart Supercenter. So it's like going to Price, or yes, going to Provo or Spanish Fork, something like that in the state, and bringing it in to spend the money here. And absolutely what you were saying earlier, the bread and butter of a lot of these rural areas is commercial filming, car commercials, outdoor adventure sport commercials, clothing catalog stuff, reality shows. Absolutely. Like we had The Survivalist here for 3 seasons, you know, outdoor adventure families traveling across an environment. And, you know, it's real-ish. But that is something, none of those projects, other than the film stuff, the actual feature films can use the film incentive program. And so those things are just bringing in direct spend money, you know, to all of the things that they're using in an area. And it's not about getting any kind of incentive back for being here. But those small crews. And then I also next week have a nice a Utah filmmaker, an indigenous filmmaker, coming down to shoot a short here that he was trying to raise money for, and was able to raise enough to shoot this little short. And with the little short, he hopes to be able to get funding to shoot a full feature. And, you know, it's, yeah, I mean, it just, the trickle down effect, but the small stuff is definitely what keeps these places.
It's an interesting observation that I've noticed, that the incentivized projects bring unincentivized projects and vice versa. And it just really helps us to have this culture, including Sundance and other events like that we are film friendly, that we have a culture for it, that we have the resources, and that we're competitive. And talking about gas prices are way more expensive in California. The price of an electrician is way more expensive in California than in Utah. And so in that way, we are already competitive. We just need the incentive to come in and make up that final difference. And we really appreciate our legislature this last year for supporting it ongoing. And as we've talked, we've definitely seen the impacts locally.
So thank you so much. That's really, really good insight to hopefully help our rural chambers understand how the film industry works in their communities, how they can plug in, how they can support. I just want to take about 3 minutes to open it up for questions from the audience. I think Abby had a question earlier.
Yes, I have a question. Okay, so just really quick. What if we think our location is super fabulous and we think, you know, Kevin Costner should come and film? You know, he could come to my house if he wants to film my house, but like, is there a way that we can get like the word out on what we think is great? Or is it like, no, we really don't want like a whole bunch of people inundating us with information? Are there requirements like you need to have so many people with catering, that kind of stuff?
No, I would say if you have a location, we would love to know about it. And I can add a link in the chat here and provide it to Colette. But so we have a film locations database, and Biga and Kelly both utilize this. And so what we do is an individual property owner or business owner can submit their location to be included in the film locations database. We just, you know, ask that you have some great photos. All of the negotiations that would happen with a production happen between you, the owner, and the production. So the office, you know, the Utah Film Commission or the different regional film commissions don't kind of get involved in that negotiation. But what we can do is promote your location as an opportunity for these productions. So when they're looking at Grand County or Kane County, they, you know, we have a directory that will be able to see all the available locations. And we really love homeowners. We love them listing with us in these directories because, you know, how many different productions, small or large, you know, need a home or some type of business to be able to shoot in.
That's great. Any other questions? Thank you for that, Abby.
I'd say just also in terms of infrastructure, you know, it's Grand County and San Juan County are interesting in that we don't have a film studio. Our closest one at this point is the Utah Film Studio just outside of Park City, 3.5 hours away. It's you know, it's not that far. They are building one in Washington County that's much further, but people don't necessarily come to this area to shoot indoors. They come to the studio, to this area to film the landscapes, whatever those are. But oftentimes they do need something like an airport hangar or an old supermarket that has gone out of business or an old office building to use as their production office space. Any number of like what other humans might call a dilapidated space can very often be used by a film crew, and they can help renovate it to make it up to their standards, and have done in many places, to be able to have their computers put in and their electricity put in. So if you have that type of infrastructure too, honestly, old airport bases, like Fallout shot on the in Wellington area, Wendover, and but they had come and scouted in this area and for weeks on end, and it was great, but they chose not to do the Red Rocks because Jonathan Nolan had already done a Red Rocky thing with Westworld, and that's totally great. But they were scouting old army base structures, and so anything like that outside of your norm too. But private property is something that even Kelly said it earlier. Like I think we're 87 or 92% public land as well, between the 2 national parks, the state park, and all the recreation areas. So our amount of private property is slim, but private property is actually great for film crews because they can do different things that a lot of our land use agencies can't. So I just want to throw that out there for any rural communities that have any of these other things that I might have mentioned, are great for film crews and should be in the database.
Perfect. So everybody needs to help work to enhance the database and highlight their local assets is what you're saying. I want just one quick last thing from everyone. Because you're talking to chamber leaders, we know our chamber leaders are the heart of our business community in rural Utah. Tell us the one thing that you suggest our chamber leaders do to prepare to host film projects in their area, or to help once they have been attracted and are already in town. I'll start with Christina.
Yeah, I mean, I would really say the biggest thing you can do is encourage business owners to list themselves in the directory, and homeowners, but business owners especially, and also to share with them the economic impact benefits that can be down the line. I think some business owners might think, oh, I don't want to close my doors to the public, but there is opportunity to kind of recoup those dollars they might have lost through the film production being there. So, but I would say first and foremost, get yourself listed in the directory just to be able to be available to film production. And I've dropped a link in the chat for how to list your property as a filming location, and you can share that with any business owner.
Perfect. Biga, do you have one other last thing to say about how these business chambers should prepare for film to come, or how they can support you? How does your Moab chamber support you?
I think that we haven't, I work for the economic development department, but I feel like the chamber has a membership program, but my hope is that the membership program outside, it opens up to the rest of the community as well in relation to this. But any relationship that the chamber has with hotels, specifically knowing the numbers of hotel rooms, knowing, I keep track of all of the general managers that come and go and sales agents that come and go. And that relationship is as big as having a relationship with our BLM offices and things like that. I think it's just about, it's very much what Christina was saying. Like, if your film commission office or your film commissioner or whatever posts things about this stuff, to be able to share that information with the community through your businesses is also incredibly helpful. I do a lot of social media stuff. There are definitely people who are not on it, but I do have Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and Instagram for the Film Commission. And those are, I even say on there, if you know somebody who's not on any of these social medias, they can look at a flyer in the paper.
That's
But
great.
yeah, it's just it's sharing and yeah, helping.
Yeah,
That's sharing and
promotion.
networking.
Yeah, promotion. Throw up a website, inventory your area, your city, your county, and if you don't have an existing program for film and resources, dedicate some. Throw up a website, inventory your county, get some locations listed, and utilize the Utah Film Commission. They're a great resource. We get a lot of inquiries that come through the state film office, and we really appreciate their support and for that empowerment that Christina talked about earlier.
And also, I've been doing this 9 and some plus years or something like that as a film commissioner. And I just want to say that if any of the people that you have working on film or putting the film ready programs together in your areas have questions, I'm absolutely happy to help with my knowledge base of my years of experience in, with questions. I helped the woman in the Silverton, Colorado Film Commission get an office together because recognizing just, some of us have been around for a long time doing this, and some have been in production for years before, and some came from administration, and others come from other government entities, but I'm here to help if you need that. So I'll put my email address in the chat too, if that's something or I'll put my website, and then you can look at that, and my email address is on there.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for that kind offer. We really appreciate each of you taking the time this morning. It's always a fun subject to talk about, but there really is a true economic impact for rural Utah. And it's just a great way to diversify your economy. So again, thank you, Christina, Kelly, Vega. I can't say thank you enough for sharing your time and your talents. And I know Kelly's also open to answer questions all the time. He's been, we've got our 2 longtime film commissioners here on this call today. So thank you so much. And we're going to quickly transition into Stephanie's presentation and take up the last 10 minutes with Stephanie. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I do believe things happen for a reason, and the information that was brought to us by the Utah Film Commission was super important. And so I am grateful for the opportunity to be able to present for just a couple minutes. We are doing great things down here in the Sanpete County region. We just completed our first home and garden show, and we had great success for our first year. The vendors were certainly happy about participating, and we put it together in 6 weeks and had a really good time and look forward to hosting this annual event every year. And we feel that it's going to be a great growth opportunity for our businesses in this area. We've also worked with Jim in the Payson Santaquin area, and he has given us some guidance on doing a passport to summer. And so we're putting together a little passport for the elementary school kids. And so it's got different businesses that they can go to, different landmarks that we want them to go see during the summer to help them recognize the different areas that we have in Sanpete County and hopefully give them some education in the area that they live. So we're excited to promote that this summer. One other thing that we're doing is, because we're county-wide, we go all the way down to Axtell, up to Indianola, over to Wales. And so it's a large area to work with as far as being a county, and the communication within the cities. We tried to bridge that communication. And so I was on a Zoom call with the events coordinator, Amanda from Ephraim City, and Heidi Hodgson from Fairview City. And we were brainstorming and thought, wouldn't it be great if we had one place that we could go that all the residents of our county and anyone who came in to visit our county could go to and see what events are available and what some of our businesses are doing and involved in. And so we worked with Kevin Christensen, who is over the tourism, the Sanpete County tourism, and decided we would build a county calendar. And so we have admins, we worked with admins from all the cities and events coordinators to be able to get on that calendar so we can all put in our events, we put in where the location is, and we think we've gotten some great reception from businesses and cities saying what a great idea. So now everybody knows what everybody else is doing, and we want you to go and support the farmers markets in this area, and we want you to be able to go and support the dances and what's going on, home and garden shows. And we felt like this is going to be a great way to get our information out and communicate within the county. And we're just excited about what we're doing. We're seeing the excitement in the community as far as being a chamber and the needs that we have for our businesses to continue to see success and growth in this community. And so, and just to let you know, we really started January of this year. So figuring in 4 months what we've accomplished and looking forward to accomplish is great. So we're excited to be part of this coalition and learn from each one of you, and I'm just glad to be here.
You're definitely one of our rising stars in the rural chamber world. So thank you so much, Stephanie. Does anyone have questions for Stephanie about some of her awesome programs like the Summer Passport or the community calendar that she's started? Everyone's quiet this morning. Maybe they didn't have enough coffee or Diet Coke yet. Well, thank you, Stephanie. We really appreciate you sharing. And I dropped your website in the chat so people could go look at your beautiful website and, you know, look at that calendar and look at the amazing things that you're doing. I think, again, we're so thankful for people like you who are willing to pick up a rural chamber project and say, hey, we recognize we need this in our county, in our community, and we can move businesses forward through this organization. So again, each of you are the voice for your rural businesses, and it's made a real difference. I know to our federal representatives, definitely to state representatives like myself through Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, the Film Commission, the tourism offices, you know, we really depend on you and your knowledge of the business community. And so thank you so much. I was gonna say, I was hoping Mark might be on today to talk about our lodging for our upcoming conference. Abby, do you want to take a couple minutes and talk about the conference?
Yeah, so we've been planning a great agenda, which is now up on our website, ruralutahcc.org. So you could go under the events tab and see our conference site. So click on that and then you can see the agenda. We've got, you guys, we just really wanted to make sure that this was focused on chambers and chamber directors, everything from your board to marketing to non-dues revenue. We're covering the gamut of things and trying to get some great entertainment. So Sunday night, we're going to have, like, for those who want to come in early, we're going to have kind of like a little get together with some yummy food and some entertainment. And then we'll start bright and early on Monday. And going into some sessions there, some breakaways, main stage. And then that evening, I believe we have some activities out on the property and on the lake. And then Tuesday we'll have some more breakaway sessions. And you guys, I'm so impressed with this lineup for the schedule. You really don't want to miss it. It's tailored specifically for rural Utah and specifically for you guys as directors on how we can help you do your job better. So I wouldn't miss it.
Also, I want to add, bring your boards. Like, we've tried to price it so your boards could come. And then also we are extending the early bird registration till Monday. But it is a great lineup, so we hope to see you all there.
And if you have any questions about lodging, or if you're concerned about paying for the conference fees to get there, please reach out to one of us, either to Trisha, Abby, or myself, and we can help talk you through it and look for ways to make sure that you can be there and attend and make it affordable. We know a lot of you are volunteers, and even our paid directors are usually working with a very slim budget. So we want to make this as accessible as possible, but please jump on, please look at the agenda, please register, and also get your lodging as quickly as possible. So, and with that, we are right at the top of the hour. That was a great meeting. Thank you for taking the time this Friday morning to be with us. It's always great to see, you know, when I see people, you know, I've got Jeff from Richfield and Kyle's over in Enterprise. We got Ginger up in downtown Salt Lake. We can see your beautiful view out your window. Megan down in San Juan, and Stephanie from San Pete. You can see we're just covering the whole entire state with this one little meeting on Friday mornings once a month. So it's really important. It makes our rural network stronger.
Well, don't forget. Sorry,
Oh,
Colette, I'm going to, because I see people leaving. If you want to stay for the linger longer, we're going to talk about non-dues revenue. So I want to make sure people know about that before they leave.
For sure.
Can I give a shout out to the DC trip? So
yes.
I just got back late last night. It was unbelievable.
Oh, I heard.
Unbelievable. The networking, I mean, there were like 90 of us that went, ended up filling almost 2 buses. All of them, you know, all 6 of our, you know, whatever, our senators and our congressmen and women were able to speak to us, give us tours, update us on what's going on. Networking was ridiculous. We met so many great people, a lot of great takeaways. Something I'm hoping to be able to take some of my executive board back there next year on this trip. And so anyway, if you guys are thinking about it, totally worth it.
Oh, thank you so much. My goal is to eventually have some type of money or sponsor to get more of our rural folks out there to DC every single year. Like Jeff said, it's so impactful. There's learning on both sides. They share their needs and experiences from a rural perspective, and also learn how, you know, the federal government works and how those contacts work and how we can leverage them, our elected officials, to benefit our rural communities. So really great opportunity. Thank you so much. And thank you, Abby, I'm always just trying to rush and get people to their next stop, but we do have our linger longer starting now with Jim. And thank you, Jim, for your willingness to host us today. We really appreciate each of you.
Adios, guys. It's great to see you, everybody.
Thanks.
I did realize I was a host. I thought I was just a presenter. Holy cow, I would have brought food. I'm sorry. All right,
So yeah.
What?
I was going to say, thank you for doing this. It's something that Parowan hasn't done. And so I thought a lot of chambers probably hasn't. Heard they're a great way to bring in some revenue for your chambers and advertise your businesses.
All right, so we're talking about our community guide magazine that goes out to all of the residents in the Payson, Santaquin, Elk Ridge, Genola. It's all based on zip codes. We do it by EDDM mail. So we just gather all of the zip codes we want to send it to. It goes to businesses and to residents. We print it once a year. And so the first thought that I had on doing this, well, I guess the most important thing is we're guaranteed a $3,500 check no matter what happens with the magazine. So the more ads that are sold, we have a 5-year contract with our publisher, and the money we make is based on how many ads they sell, with a minimum of $3,500. So if they don't sell any ads, I still get a check for $3,500 if they're still in business. So my first suggestion is to find a publisher that you like, trust, and, you know, should know the community well enough to be able to get out there and talk to the businesses, because they do all the ad sales we support them and help them, and we try to sell ads as well, but they are really the ones that are going to go out and sell. So you want somebody that you know and trust, and that if they're selling ads already in your area for other newspapers or magazines, that's probably not a bad idea. In our case, our publisher had a community, it's not a community guide because that's what our magazine is, some kind of a local advertisement magazine that he sent out. So he knew a lot of the people that we had to touch to get them into our magazine. And then when you get that good publisher, don't let them do it alone. Be engaged, be involved, keep a spreadsheet on who's signed up, who hasn't signed up. You will be talking to your members all, for probably the 3 or 4 months we're selling ads for the magazine, and you want to promote it through your channels as well. So don't just leave it up to him. So what's happened in our relationship is he got non-members to join the chamber, and I got members to put ads in the magazine. So we worked very closely hand in hand in getting new members to join. Some of our members or non-members who have been advertising in this magazine for years had thought they were a chamber member, but they hadn't paid their dues in 2 or 3 years. So we were able to get them to get back on board and pay their dues. Number 2, I thought it was important, especially with almost 30 years in the printing business, to have a good quality paper and good quality magazine. Some of the magazines you see out there are real thin paper and almost a throwaway book. So it was important to us, and Kathleen up in Spanish Fork did the same thing, upgraded the paper. So we got a little thicker cover on the outside, and it's just a higher gloss. We put a coating on the outside, and it just gives us, this is last year's book. So it just gives you a higher degree of value when it gets in the members' hands or the residents' hands. Let's see, print quantity is important. So first you need to know what your mailing list is, and the printer, the publisher will take care of all that. But then you want to figure out what kind of extras you want to use this magazine for. So we put a magazine in every welcome bag that goes to the city offices. The welcome bag has all of our member swag in it. So every new resident will get this magazine. So you want to make sure you know how many welcome bags your cities are using. Add that to the print count. Trade shows, if you're going to go to do trade shows, it's a great table item on your table as you're out at different events. So just kind of calculate how many shows you're going to do. I'd probably go through 5 to 20 per show at the events that I've been doing. Hotels, if you have hotels in your area, you may consider putting this in all the different hotel rooms. We only got 1 hotel here, so we don't have a massive number. So if you have a lot of hotels, it may get a little out of hand price-wise to print that many extras. But just kind of consider if you've got some tourism locations that you want to have these out throughout the year. The magazine's good for a year. It's got events happening throughout the year. So we consider it a year-long value to the members. And then any other major businesses, I've dropped some off at some banks, doctors' offices, the city offices. And you may run out halfway through the year, so be it, but just kind of calculate that into your print quantity, so that the publisher knows you want an extra 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 magazines. And again, don't leave it all to the publisher. You're responsible to give him the directory. In the back of the magazine is a directory of all of our chamber members. So you need to make sure that information is accurate. We had a couple of typos, which in the printing business, there's always a typo. But you know, you just got to do your due diligence, make sure your directory database is up to date. Fix it before, I mean, that's a good time of year to really cleanse your database and make sure that it's all accurate. Again, help sell the ads. Don't just leave the burden on the publisher. You're out there promoting that magazine for 3 or 4 months at every meeting you're in and making sure that all of the members are aware of the opportunity. We provide chamber members a discount for the ads. So we kind of calculated what the publisher needed to make per ad. And then we added, I think it was 10 or 15% to that. And then we also provided an early bird special. If you bought it before the end of last year, you got a discounted price. But again, just help them sell the ads as well, just through your members. And then use it as a leveraging tool for your membership. As a member of the chamber, you have your name in this magazine that goes out to over 15,000 people in our area. And again, it's a tool that our residents use to know what's going on throughout the year. We have a message from each mayor. We have city stats, the different cities' population and net worth and income and things. So we have good information in here, and then a calendar of events through the whole area, all of Utah County, not just Payson and Santaquin. So it becomes a very good tool for the residents, a good resource for the residents to use all year long to know what's coming up. I see a question there in the back row.
Hey, Jim, I have a question for you. And I wanted you to kind of pull it up, because the one thing that I liked is adding value for those higher paid members. And if I think you do it, I know we do it in our magazine, but we highlight, like if you're a premier member, the highest level, you get a highlighted section in the back end of the chamber membership. I don't know if you've got that handy,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and I liked that because I'm always trying to find ways to add value for those higher paid members. So yeah, you could see there. So you've got like the little like what the categories are, and then that kind of light purple highlighted section. Those are usually our premier members I put there. And so I think those are great ways to add value for those higher members. So
Yep, very good point. Yeah, it's just something, their name goes at the top of the category and it's highlighted, so it just is easier for people to find their business. Thank you, Abby. Abby has a great publisher also.
it's the same publisher.
And then, like I said, just the discounted rate. So as you use it as leverage for membership, hey, join the chamber. Not only do you get your name in the magazine, but it's there for the whole year. 15,000 people see it. It's just another benefit of joining the chamber at any level. They get their name in there. So you don't have to be a premier member to get into the magazine. So all of our essential members are in there. And it's just another selling point as to why you should join the Chamber of Commerce. And I think that is all I have to share. My notes have ended. And I guess if I'm hosting it, then I guess I can tell everybody they can go home. Any questions?
Yeah, Jim, I was going to say, super great info. That was an incredible summary. Will you send me some notes on that? I want to put it in the newsletter because
Okay.
Yeah, that was awesome. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Jim, I was wondering, what other content do you put in your magazine, and how many pages is your magazine? I know you said you have community events and mayor messages and things like that, but do you have any other articles or stories or anything like that?
It's 64 pages, and it's really driven by the amount of advertisements that we sell. We sell full page ads, half page ads. So we love selling full page ads, but you make more money selling a bunch of smaller ads. The content is really about the events and activities. So like each section, so we have city parks. So we just tell a little brief story about city parks, and then we list all the city parks in there. So no real stories. It's really just more about the events. It's a guide to events that's going on. We tell our story as a Chamber of Commerce. So we have a page dedicated to the chamber. So, and we kind of use this as our sales tool to why to join the chamber, and, you know, share some pictures, and our core values are listed, and just some of the community benefits. We show our board members, we show awards winners at our annual gala, businesses of the month or quarter, and things like that. Does that help, Patsy?
Yes, thank you. And I wonder if you wouldn't mind sending me a copy of that.
I'd be happy to, if you want to put your info in the chat.
Okay, yeah, 'cause
I
I'd like.
love one too. I'm going to put my info in the chat too.
I think Tara wanted one. Tara with the big chamber, she wanted a copy too. So if you could.
Why don't we do this? Why don't you just email me that so I don't have to keep retyping everything?
Okay. Okay, well, thank you, Jim. That was great. Great information. We need to do one of those in Parowan, and that'll help get us started. Okay, well,
It's
thank you,
really
everybody.
the secret to that is it's an easy, it's not, I wouldn't say it's an easy check, because I get very engaged and involved because I'm very what's the word? I want to make sure this is really good quality, accurate. I don't want typos. I don't like typos. I've looked for typos for 30 years in the printing business, and I hate them. I think we had Elk Ridge's website under Janola's name in here. So Janola called and said, hey, by the way. But the other thing it did is Jones Paint and Glass got a copy of this. They're moving into Payson. They're building a new location. They got a copy and called me the next day and said, hey, how do we get into the next magazine? And they ended up joining as our top tier member. So,
nice.
You know, Trisha's got her plane coming in. So we had, I think I got 3 calls the very next day. They came out in the mailbox asking how they could advertise in the magazine.
Well, and something I was going to say, Jim, is like with Parowan just getting money, you know, some funding from Parowan City, like they want to make sure we are earning that. But even that community guide, like if we were to do it and give it to the city, that is us giving them something for free that gives them value for supporting us. So that's such a good idea.
Yeah, and we get a letter from the mayor. I have, you know, a conversation with the mayor each year and say, hey, it's time for your community guide letter, you know, and so I encourage them to write a story about their city, and they both take that very seriously.
Cool. Okay, well, thank you, everybody.
Hold on really quick, Trisha. I've
ahead.
got something I wanted to add to that. So one thing that we do is we get extra copies. They give us extra copies, and we put them in our welcome bags for new residents. So we put those in there so people have them when they come to the area. So that's been a benefit too.
You must have dozed off for a second, Abby, because I
was gonna.
You already say that. Sorry, I was thinking of all these ways.
I know it's tough to multitask, right?
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. That was a great call, and have a fantastic Friday, and sign up for the conference if you haven't already.
Thanks, everyone. And email me if you want a copy of my magazine.
Great. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.